Hello everyone, we're back with the Bibites. I got a request from a user named Miau and supported by Waffle to check out this predator. Now this predator, from what I've seen, was made for 6.1 and I do not have 6.1, I have 5.1 because I don't have the Patreon. But that is the Cannibalistic Tomato, as the save is called, and they are definitely doing some interesting stuff. They're not running around super fast, but they do seem to be doing a good job getting the meat. That one's dead. I don't know what to expect. I haven't really looked at these guys, and I haven't read the history on them. We do have a whale. It looks like an R whale, which seems like it would be provided by Waffle. It makes sense. And Lycopersicum, the Cannibalistic Tomato. That's a very simple brain. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 7 nodes. So only like 6 to 8 hidden nodes, which is cool. That means it's going to be pretty easy to understand what's going on. Let's take a look at some other things before we go into the brain. This thing has been alive for 200 seconds, which is... let's find a big one. 28. There's not a lot of them. This is a very low population, and I think part of that could be because this is 5.1 and not 6.1, and these things are adapted for the different version. So 276. So this is fairly typical for a predator, I've found. Predators don't live long. Lay time. This is not set. This is definitely something where the evolution simulator has had access to the body. That's interesting looking. Look at that. All sorts of prey for him. Did a great job killing it. That's for sure. But back to this. Brood time and hatch time, that's a 2-to-1 ratio, which is fairly standard. Size is pretty big at 1.45. Speed ratio, standard. We don't care about colors. Super high strength, decent defense. View angle is 100, view radius is 196, so it's got... it'd probably be closer to like this. Once I get to 6.1, I will be able to see the actual view angle in the thing, and that will make things so much better. Clock speed, Ferrosense. Ferrosense basically non-existent. Does it actually use herding? It doesn't use herding. It's there, but it doesn't use it. Growth scale, growth maturity factor, growth maturity exponent. I'm going to assume that means it grows about fast. About fast. Let's find out. What is the trigger for growth? Here is want to grow. Want to grow is got a hard negative on the constant, a slight green on the Bibit closeness, so it wants to grow when there are Bibits nearby. And then we have a hidden node. This is a Relu. Again, hard negative constant, hard green on the energy ratio, so more energy, more grow. And then Bibit angle has a green. It's not a hard green, but it's definitely a green. Okay. So it mostly energy ratio. More energy, more grow. Growth is currently at 0.00, which is, somewhat to be expected. I don't want to hand feed this thing. I would rather it get food on its own. Let's see. Growth has not gone up. It's also really not digesting, which is, again, fairly common for a predator. They need to preserve what food they get. 600 seconds. Well, that might be a ripperdoodle. So it does seem that when there is more food in the belly, the digestion goes up. I mean, it's effective at killing things that are attached to plants. It's effective at killing, at 24.6 attack, it's going to be effective at killing things, period. We're not getting growth. I did not see a limiter on growth based on, what do you call it? Maturity. So that shouldn't really change. We got a little bit, 0.55. This could be an issue with the growth maturity exponent. I believe this is the one where it diminishes the rate of growth for a bigger Bibit. And it's going to get eaten. It's going to get eaten. That's fine. I want a small one. There we go. How do you grow? 12. I saw a 12 briefly. Yeah, this thing grows fast. That's enough of that. Okay, what else do we have going on here? What is your egg lay is just on. Yes, I want to lay an egg. I always want to lay an egg. How much does an egg cost? 250, 249 and a half, which is a good. It's a good size. You know, my predators tend to be about in that 200 range as well. Sometimes I like to raise it, which I can absolutely do artificially just using body mechanics. What else do we have? Want to eat actually has a strong red on the green on the plant closeness, but it does still seem to want to eat because it has a strong green on the meat angle, meat closeness, which is, it may make sense. I would actually like to see this get turned off. I want to see what happens. It doesn't seem to be getting turned off much now. I am noticing that these things seem to be moving a little differently than I'm used to. I'm going to check on a world setting here. These are all standard. This is fairly expected. Energy density and mass density might be a little higher than I'm used to. Meat is fully standard. Decay rate is somewhat higher than base. What am I looking at? Looking for. I'm looking for this right here. Drag coefficient, muscle force, and defense move. Nope. Yeah, the world is built the way that I'm used to. For some reason, they just seem to be moving in a way that I don't truly expect. Which, let's take a look at that. What is the accelerate function? Constant green, slight constant green at that. We have an absolute value that comes out of Bibit angle, which is green, and meat angle, which is green. It is then reversed. So if it sees a Bibit or meat, it's going to slow down. End of story. The greater the angle, the greater the slowdown. So if it's over here and it sees it, it's going to slow down a lot, turn, and go for it. Which is actually very simple. It's a good function. I like that. Rotate. Hard negative from this, which is non-existent. So dummy. Dummy node. We have meat angle. Yes, we want the meat. The meat angle is a hard green. A 12 hard green. We have Bibit angle, which is also a hard green, a slightly less hard green. And we want to turn away from plants. So again, very simple, relying very little on hidden nodes. Digestion. Yeah, the only thing that turns up digestion is fullness. Everything else turns it down. So not a wasteful Bibit at all. I'm actually curious how much the brain itself costs. 0.06, that's a very cheap brain. Not expensive at all. So grab. It doesn't grab. That's interesting. So it just, it bites something and then bounces off of it. I don't know what to think about that. I'm not going to think about that. Clock reset, I don't really care. Okay, want to grow, we already discussed that. Pheromone, it doesn't really use pheromones for anything. It doesn't have a sense of smell. Want to heal is just green, lots of green feeds, and want to attack is also just green. So it's a very simple creature. And I'm sure that if I was in 6.1, it would be a significantly less simple creature, because I just don't have access to the functions that would make this thing more interesting. It does seem to have kind of a very low general count. It's not wildly populous, which is fine. It's good for the whales. I'm curious about the world itself. Ah, look at that. That's fairly well spread out. Let's see the oldest is actually a cannibalistic tomato at 2,400 seconds. And it is laying eggs. So this thing is successful about something. We have a latch here from number of plants and red pheromone, which has a very slight green towards rotate. I don't think it's strong enough to actually do anything. I think that's just a dummy node. What else is possibly keeping you alive for so long? Could just be luck. I'm curious about something else. Diet is 0.97, so it's almost maxed out carnivore. Plants are definitely toxic. Efficiency minus 22.8. Energy gain rate negative 0.1 energy per second for the plants. I'm curious. We're just going to watch this happen real quick. So it does definitely slow down. It's turning, and it's going to go for it. Lined up the target. That's a fantastic hunting technique. I can't really diss it. And with its super strong attack, it will win a lot of face-offs just by overpowering its opponent, and especially since it seems to be larger than the whales currently. It's large. This is a big chunker boy. Big chunker boy. How big are you? 1.59. It could be a bigger chunker boy, but it's not. And again, I think that is largely due to the growth maturity exponent being so high. It just, at a certain point, it's going to stop growing. And it seems to be that, oh, look at the size of that one. Completely derailed my train of thought, didn't it? This is a 506. It's going to starve itself off in the void. That's fine. I like to see what is expected from the prey. Okay, that's a lot of green with very little red. Let's focus on the reds. The prey itself has a strong negative input into an absolute from energy ratio, which feeds into rotate. Fascinating. It also has a second input into this absolute into rotate from energy input at a green with a latch on infection rate of all things. It's dead. This is our new guy. It's barely growing, which I'm going to go ahead and guess it's reached its maturity exponent. It's still growing, it's just not growing. Oh, I lied. No, there it goes. It's up to 10. This thing is growing fast. And then it stopped. It's definitely attached to energy ratio. 100% that is attached to energy ratio. Here's growth. Growth is attached to a constant, a negative constant, which gets turned a constant off, basically, with an unnecessary hidden node. We have a Relu here, which is attached to a linear, that's an absolute, not a linear, which is energy ratio. I called it. I said the thing, and the thing turned out exactly the way I said. What else we got? I think that's it. I mean, it's obviously a predator that works. In 5.1, it's not super complex. It doesn't seem to have any kind of defensive posturing. It just sees things, eats them. Everything is food. Very efficient. You know, it stores food. It's not likely to die from starvation anytime soon. Even a little tiny bit of meat is going to keep this thing alive for a very long time. Its metabolism isn't all that high. The brain's not expensive. It doesn't spend anything on pheromones. So, you know, solid there. It's just, it doesn't have, it just doesn't have a lot of complexity to it. It does exactly what it needs to do. So I would be curious to see what it looks like in 6.1. I am morally opposed to paying recurring fees. I would happily pay like $50 for the game itself. I just don't want to pay the $5 a month. That's all. Yeah. I don't think there's really much else to say about it. At this point, it's become a bit of a screensaver. I'd like to see a bit more happening. But it's effective. Anyways, I hope you get something from this video. And again, this is a predator that was presented by Miau from the Discord channel. I'll see y'all there.